Hello everyone, I'm Kako Chrissy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will show you this Hongshan piece. It's called in Chinese Xi. It's very complicated word we don't use in our modern days. This piece is a tool, as you can see, pointed tip. This is the one people in the ancient time used to untangle the ropes. You know, in the ancient time, rope is such an important possession of people's life. When you use tighten up something, when you want to untighten it, you don't just cut it open. You use this pointy tool to untighten it. So in the old textbook about 2,000 years ago, they recorded clearly when a boy reaches a certain age, he will wear this kind of a tool to untie the rope. But meanwhile, by wear this tool on him, it shows I'm a grown up now. I can solve a problem. So that's the symbol for a boy growing into a mature age, and can be dependable to solve a problem. Okay, since then, every dynasty will have this kind of pointed tool. You will find like in the West Zhou dynasty, in Han dynasty, everyone have them. So this one is one of the oldest, I believe. This kind of a tool, we find it in Hongshan Jade. That's very silly to think about it. This using this kind of a tool tradition is started so far behind of us, like 5,000-6,000 years ago. They already have this concept to use this kind of a tool to unsolve the problem, to solve the problem, to untie the ropes. Okay, that's the function for this piece. For this piece, I want to show you a few very interesting and very practical way to help you to identify an ancient jade. Since this is a great example, and also I want to show you how through this piece, I want to show you an example to unlock our own power within inside us. Means independent thinking, to think for yourself. This is such a great power within us, but unfortunately, most of the time we even don't use it. I will show you why it is, and I will show you how important when you use our mind to think, to track down, and to find out the truth. Okay, here is I want to show you this jade. Let's follow bear with me. We follow the same process we see this jade, this white material, typically not truly white for this point, with some yellow dish inside. It's hard kind of jade. For the stains, I want to show you a very interesting thing you will notice. Did you realize this is the crack? Here is a crack. And then you will see is this stain going too deep. It's all happened along the crack. That means that the color, the material go into the deep of a jade through those cracks. See here? And then the color getting lighter when it's far away from the crack. That's the thing to show you how those coloration get into the jade. See this, the most deeper part, and go to lighten. This is the deeper part, going to lighten when they're far away from the crack. Some collector will tell you whenever you see the stains, you should look for those cracks. Sometime, in most of time on jade, probably not visible, but if you look deeply, when you find out the most of the deeper part will guide you to find a tiny crack or holes on the jade. We know from the experience, we already know this kind of black stain more likely caused by this jade went through the fire before it was buried in the tomb. So caused those kind of a crack. And then after a few thousand years, those materials go into the jade and cause this coloration. That's the one thing I want to show you. And another thing, let me go larger for this. Let's look at the mouth. And for ancient piece, you look at the mouth or the crack, they tell you a lot of stories. Let's see here. If you see the crack, did you notice the surface is not flat? Because they use a wire to cut open, the strength is not even every cut. So some part they will cut some deeper, some lighter, and you see this is not straight. This thing is not like use a modern tool to cut evenly. And also I want to show you another practical trick is, did you see, let me see here. It's a tiny teeth left on the corner. See this? And this side, on the both sides. This is a good example to learn the few practical tips to help you identify an Asian jade. Because we know they use the wire tool to open it with sand, with water. And the end of this part, if they already can crack it open, they don't need to bother to flatten it out. So left a hint for us to look into the ancient jade. In another word, this tiny, sharp, pumpy out thing, see here, is a modern tool won't leave you this sign. For this part, how the Asian people cutting the jade open and what kind of a tool mark they left there, I strongly suggest you should get a book published by Taiwan Museum, wrote by Deng Shuping. They did a wonderful job to peel off the mysteries for you. Although you don't need, maybe you don't understand the Chinese, since this book was written in Chinese, but I still think this book is definitely worth your trouble to get it, especially if you want to have a solid understanding about the ancient jade. This is the book is on my list as should be the must to have book. Will help you to understand a lot about ancient jade. See this part? That's the sign you will look when next time you go to hunting for ancient piece. You see this? This will give you a lot of confidence because it can't be made by a modern tool. Not that easy. Okay. And then we go another deep talk on this guy. Did you notice there's a big hole here? And I show you this piece actually has another holes here on the head. They drilled from both sides. Oh yes, I need to add another practical tip for this. You see here, let me open up, make it up. You see the holes, the same with those coiled dragon or bear, those holes. They make from a section to make it one hole. They met in the center. On the edge of a hole is relatively smooth, going too deep. Did you see what inside here? Yes, a piece of stone stuck there. This thing is another practical tip for you, will help you to examine ancient jade. This thing quite happened frequently in those holes, and also in the lines, in even narrow lines than this. Sometime you will see a piece of a stone stuck there. Just like you just saw this guy here, a piece of stone stuck there. Don't worry, that's a part of ancient piece to help you to read them. If you saw them, leave them as there. It's nature, they go, somehow the stone get into it and they stuck there as if they grew together. For me, it's a beautiful sign. I will leave as it. Okay, let's go back to the horse. We know in this ancient time, they don't have metal tools. It will be so hard for them to drill a hole on the jade. It's not an easy task. And then we will ask, why here has a hole? If we say here has a hole because of those coiled dragon, a bear, has this design to separate out their mouths and the body, okay, I buy it. But why here has a hole? Because they already have a hole here to let the string go through to hang on. So what did this guy do? Actually, this is the piece first ring the alarm for me to pay attention to the holes. We know jade, one of the oldest form of jade is those rounded but in the center has a hole. We accepted the explanation by all those books say, yes, in the ancient time, Chinese used that rounded bee to indicate it, and they sacrifice the sky, heaven, when they do the prayer. So no one asked, including me, asked why there's a hole there. We always accept what we've been taught. Accept it just as it. Oh yes, when you talk about the disc B, oh yes, there's a hole there, but why there's a hole there? So I did a lot of research. I couldn't find almost none research to mention about why there's holes on the jade in the center around the piece, even on this guide. This is the tool they will use. You will imagine without this hole, will be enforced this power of the tool than with the hole in the center. And besides, they go through the trouble to dig a hole there. Why? Let's cut it short. If you want to read more about this, I mentioned in my book, Hongshan Jade, I mentioned how I did the research on it. Yes, it's on my book, if you want to find out more. I tell you, the end of the story is this hole is the pathway for all human when we pray. Let's say, let's should go back a little bit. Let's go back to B, disc B. When we make a disc B the wrong thing, we accept it as a sacrifice for heaven. Why? So I dig out. In Hayashi Minao is a professor in Japan. He mentioned all those ancient form, jade form, has their original symbol, original where they came from. He mentioned those disc B is originally come from the idea, the sun and the moon. Did that make sense? It makes sense for me. You think about it, 6,000 years ago, what kind of thing around the Hongshan people or around the Liangzhu people was rounded? That's the star, that's the moon, that's the sun. And then you will ask yourself, oh, wait a minute. We know moon can be very rounded, sun is rounded. Do we have a hole in the center of a sun or in the center of a moon? No. So why be the disc if they got their original idea from the sky, from the moon, from the sun? Why they have a hole there? And I also find out that Deng Shuping made some research. Her explanation is not so persuasive for me. So when I lined up all those Hongshan Jade, including the pictures I couldn't find in Taiwan Museum, I realized that the hole is for our prayer to go through. When we pray to heaven, let's protect us to have a good harvest, good health. We pray for the heaven, we pray for the sun, for the moon. But the sun and the moon was so far away from us. We wanted them to be closer to us, to hear our prayer. That's why when Asian people find out the jade, they think, oh, this jade is the essence, is the Qi is the energy from the earth. So they use a jade to make a rounded shape, indicated the moon and the star and the sun. When they pray, our prayer will go through the center hole to reach God in the heaven. And the same idea, we will borrow this jade, this earth, and the spiritual power to bring back God's protection from the heaven to us through those holes. That's my conclusion. That explanation make me feel satisfied. I think that is. So you think about it, what that's the meaning. People go through the trouble, make a hole on it. It's very interesting for me to realize we can accept scholars whoever the great teachers taught that they teach us. Yes, we learn. But we have to think, to raise a question, to dig out more, to think for ourselves. That's the greater power we all have within us. We just don't use it often, or most of the time we give out our thinking power. And it's like me, I most of the time I take it easy, I accept everything. But this piece helped me realize, wait a second, I got to think about it. Why you said that? And the same case happened right now. I don't want you take what I found as your knowledge. You got to think for yourself. You can agree, you can disagree with me. If you find out more truth and disagree with me, I will be very happy to communicate with you. That's the way we help each other to discover the truth of this ancient art. I hope you find today's videos interesting. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next time.